Before we look at this boat, this is a quote from the man who designed it, Philippe Briand. He says, and this is important, "In my view, the Jeanneau Yachts 65 offers a conclusive argument for why monohulls are a better choice for extended voyages than multi-hulls, as they're more comfortable at sea, safer, and more fun to sail. Indeed, the Jeanneau Yacht 65 is what we call une valeur sûre, or safe bet for any owner." Those are some pretty big words. This better be a big boat, and it is. This is the impressive Jeanneau Yacht 65, and right out of the gate, this is not your average sailing boat. Jeanneau takes aim directly at the long voyage customer who might otherwise buy a catamaran, and gives them a lot of very good reasons to stay in the monohull stable. That's the goal anyway. Let's see if they pulled it off. Out back, we get a dinghy garage behind the fold-down transom bathing platform on this 17-foot wide monohull. The helms have been pushed back on this boat to maximize cockpit space in what Jeanneau says offers equivalent space as any cat out there. And I think they're right. The outdoor living space is similar to a big lagoon or a fountain. We also notice here that this boat has what's becoming a Jeanneau trademark, the sloping side decks or walk-around cockpit that we love so much. We saw this on the 350 last year. And if you're operating this boat, you can access both helms and both side decks without stepping over your passengers or letting anyone get in your way. The LOA of this boat may be over 66 feet, but you can access all of it without ever tripping over anyone in the cockpit. Forward of the massive cockpit is a spray hood dodger based on an arch that houses the main sheet atop. While this offers amazing protection for those in the cockpit, some test sails have pointed out that it can be hard to see around this massive enclosure when you're in tight maneuvering. A price to pay for everything, though we expect you wouldn't be tight maneuvering this boat alone anyway, and all the thrusters that it comes with do make it pretty easy to dock. Out back here, I can imagine having all the family non-sailors happily hanging out in this massive lounge, while those who sail happily perched behind the helms, all able to interact with each other the whole time, but enjoying this boat for very different reasons. As we head up the slope side deck, which again we love, I want to point out that while you may think this is a dock queen or a condo for the water, her ocean rating and full 70,000 pounds of weight would beg to differ with you. This boat is for ocean passage. Even her shallow draft keel is 7 feet, and she's kitted out to be sailed everywhere. On the side decks, we note the outboard chain plates bolted to the side of the hull, with all the French boats seem to be doing that now. We were talking in the office the other day about this and remarking how the only big manufacturer that still seems to use inboard chain plates and big Genoas is Catalina. Everyone else seems to have gone to these outboard shroud mounts with self-tacking jibs. It's kind of interesting. Up front, we have the cushions out in the Miami sunshine and a large anchor locker on the bow with less than a full bow pulpit. For an ocean-going, world-traveling 70,000-pound boat, we wonder why we don't have a full pulpit up here. We do, however, get a powered furling and provisions for a code to be tacked down on the bowsprit. The triple spreader rig here is massive and keel stepped, oversized for ocean use, and comes with a few options. This is the family-friendly arrangement, but you can also opt for the tall rig and a main sheet that comes down to the cockpit floor well within reach instead of landing on the arch like it does here. Despite being the biggest boat in the range, all the glass work we saw on board was top-notch, and the finish work is excellent, as we've come to expect from Jeanneau. The outside of the yacht certainly does give me pause if I'm considering a catamaran. I think with so many people choosing cats these days, it's important to highlight why you might want a monohull instead. Yes, you'll be heeling over occasionally, and yes, they're narrower overall, but this is a proper sailing boat, and the heeling means the boat can spill excess wind on its own. You don't get that with a cat. You have to constantly be changing reefs and watching the wind speed so that you don't get overpowered. The cat also comes with higher haul out and maintenance costs, the need for bigger slips in the marinas, a totally different ride quality as they wobble about on the wave tops, but the monohull pushes through the waves, and of course the giant elephant in the catamaran room, the inability to self-right, should the worst happen. An ocean-going keel-step 70,000-pound monohull will be the safer option if you're going to be out in the North Atlantic in a gale. It just will. And Jeanneau so far seems to have nailed it with catamaran competition out here. I was very anxious to see the inside. Before we look inside, while you're enjoying your boat, you need a good set of binoculars. My boat came with a set, but they're not very good, so I rarely use them. We just published a great article on the Practical Sailor site explaining everything I need to know about marine binoculars, and I learned a lot from reading it. The article even suggests binoculars to buy. Practical Sailor is chock full of great informative articles like that. From boat and gear reviews to boat buying and maintenance advice. If you aren't already a subscriber at the website, you really are missing out on all the great stuff. To sign up, click the link at the top of the screen. You'll be glad you did. Now, we're told that this boat comes in a wide range of interior layouts, and we really loved this one that they had at the Miami Boat Show. 3 beds, 3 baths. The fact that you're on a 65-footer is obvious down here with full seating down both sides of the saloon, and compliments on the plush upholstery. We saw these for sale in the near $2 million price point, so the interior needs to be top notch, and it really is on this boat. To starboard, we find a heavily insulated engine room housing easy access to the 175 horse Volvo. We get a very nice nav station that looks extremely comfortable, and laundry and storage back here. I took note of how nice the hardware and the latches were, albeit one was a bit wiggly. Through the saloon and around the keel step mast is another shot taken at the cats here. The forward area is kind of a fork with mirrored cabins on either side, and that's just like you'd get in a cat. The side cabin is a Pullman style that a lot of people like, and it goes all the way forward to the private head for that cabin, and then on to the next one, an exact mirror image. This is an extremely cool layout because you effectively get 2 very comfortable and usable private staterooms for your guests or kids. And these are as nice as the master cabin in a 42-footer, and you get 2 of them. The hardware and finish work in here is excellent, and I stopped to admire the craftsmanship here and there, but all very impressive. I'll say there is one thing that bugs me about these new boats, and if you're a regular viewer of the channel, you'll have been expecting this. Creaky floors, or sole, if you will. A creaky boat with ill-fitting floorboards or finish work will drive me mad because I know if it creaks and groans at the dock, once you go out sailing and the boat starts twisting and stressing the hull, it's going to be maddening down below. And if a new boat does it, imagine what it'll be like in 10 years or 20. And so far the 65 hasn't made a sound until I get to the galley. I'll turn the sound back on here. Maybe this is minor and I'm just nitpicking here, but I want my $2 million boat to avoid creaking and groaning underfoot. Seriously, my only complaint about this boat was this creaky step. I think what Jeanneau is doing here is admirable, taking a pot shot at the big cats and saying, hey, you can still buy a monohull and get all the huge space and comfort that you want. Don't buy a cat. And I agree with them. Out back, this boat's party piece, the full beam master cabin with the TV and the desk and the private ensuite, and dare I say, a much better master stateroom than any cat I've ever seen. This is gorgeous, and because it's a mono, you should be able to sleep more soundly without the waves crashing into the bottom of the bridge deck. Am I right, cat owners? I really do love this boat. Despite the creaky floor in the kitchen, the space and layout and organization and craftsmanship is amazing. The weight in the keel step mast and the Dodger and the available hardtop, the tall rig option with traveler run to the cockpit floor. I love all of it. And the shot they're taking at the cat makes it all even better. What do you guys think? Let everyone know in the comments. Would you have this over a cat? Why or why not? I'm solidly in the monohull camp, obviously, but I'd love to see where you land. Also, please don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you guys next time.